Happy Halloween, you big dingles. So I decided to review something spooky for Halloween season, but I wasn't sure what. I reviewed Shed 17, and I reviewed Project G1, but there's still one more horror film Paul's vids made, Bertha the True Story. This was made years before Shed 17, but it's very similar to the TV documentary style. However, it's about Bertha, some British show from the 80s that nobody remembers, except for Paul who made a video about it.
Bertha, lovely Bertha, you are a lovely machine, and anyone who works with you will know just what I mean. Whoa, Bertha, lovely Bertha, sometimes I think you're a dream. When we work out what you have to do, you can always turn the goods out, always turn the goods out. We can depend upon you. Work out what you have to do, you can always turn the goods out, always turn the goods out.
So as you can see, we haven't seen all the nightmare fuel this channel is capable of.
The Bertha project started in the late 70s by Clean Industries. It was an experiment to create artificial intelligence and was in its early stages with the prototype Bertha.
Instead of biofusion this time, we have AI. You'll notice the animation looks pretty bad, to be honest, even worse than Shed 17's. Now this was made in 2010, so the difference between this animation and Project G1's is night and day.
Our manager bought the original Bertha for use in the factory.
Spotty's Wooden Company obtained Bertha with the intention of automating their own production process.
Almost immediately, Mr. Wilmate started making redundancies.
The pacing is also a lot faster this time around. Personally, I think that despite being only 13 minutes long, while the story moves fast, it is still able to build up the horror elements really well, and you'll see that soon.
Rumours started flying around about half the workforce being made redundant.
Clearly you should
A few people were upset by Bertha. When the TV programme came out, it really put Spotswood & Co on the map, and everyone wanted to meet Bertha.
When the children's television program started, the debate about Bertha's artificial intelligence really took off. People began questioning whether Bertha was indeed self-aware, and therefore a living being. Some people agreed Bertha was alive, others were seemingly insulted by the idea.
Yeah, let's put Michael Jackson on the cover and only put the technological and scientific breakthrough in a tiny little corner.
Well, you didn't need to ask us whether Bertha was alive or not.
She was alive to me,
Okay, but you don't look very alive. Why is your chin clipping through your body?
and to all of us that worked with her.
Things started to go bad when Mr. Wilmate hired Mr. Lancaster as assistant manager.
Gee, sure looks like a trustworthy guy.
Straight away people didn't like him. He liked to make changes, to take over, throw his substantial weight around.
The TV show had become the company's main income.
A TV show that only had 13 episodes was making enough to support your entire company? Gee, maybe the baby boomers weren't kidding when they said things were cheaper back then.
And suddenly there were more staff than was needed. So Mr. Lancaster came in to streamline the whole process.
Security was replaced by cameras, and the office staff were mostly replaced thanks to a newfangled computer networking system.
Damn millennials with those newfangled computer systems.
There was talk of me being replaced by this new computer system.
If I had to listen to that voice all day, I'd replace you too.
But it was when Roy was laid off that Bertha was hurt the most.
Bertha's positronic brain had a tendency to make connections with certain people. Some would call it a friendship with people.
They sure put a lot of effort into the AI for a factory machine. Imagine if your fridge made a connection with you. Well, mine does.
Just after Roy was fired, we started having problems with the computer network. Mr. Wilmate's console in his office started getting strange, garbled images.
It took some time to decipher the images that were appearing on the network. One night, Mr. Lancaster was working on the factory floor.
He liked to work late, since he'd laid off most of the production staff.
He looked to be tinkering with Bertha on ladders.
That's an OSHA violation for sure.
Then, something happened.
the interference on the video was caused by a spike in Bertha's positronic net. When she was required to perform a complex equation or was starting up, this kind of interference happened.
No one really knows what happened that night. It's not clear.
Oh, come on, it's pretty obvious.
If you ask me, it was suicide.
Yeah, sure, suicide. Must have been the same type of suicide that happened to Jeffrey Epstein.
The papers were all over the story saying terrible things about Bertha.
Bertha's brain was built to learn, but also had a behavior chip to regulate decisions that went against her early programming. If Bertha had indeed caused this incident, it would have been caused by a very strong emotional response to something.
All I know is Bertha wasn't capable of murder. I knew her too well. We all did.
After all the publicity, they cancelled the TV show.
Again, who makes these magazines? What kind of magazine will prioritize something else over a TV character killing a man?
Then all the work started drying up. We kept running for a while, but wasn't long before we had to close down.
Thank God for Mr. Willmake. He kept the property and paid for Bertha's power supply.
Mr. Wilmate managed to keep Bertha powered up for 10 years, all alone on that factory floor, until he passed away.
When the bills started arriving at Mr. Willmake's,
It was definitely necessary for the documentary to show his dead body.
Bertha's brain required constant power to keep running. Any kind of power loss and the positronic connections would begin to degrade like a human brain if deprived of oxygen.
Well, good thing they never had a power outage when they were working there, or else they'd be f***ed.
a few of us got together and started a campaign to keep Bertha running. We wrote to everyone we could and managed to keep Bertha alive for years.
Then along came the Reverend Timms.
The very notion that this machine is alive is an insult to the church as a whole.
Yet a cluster of cells is alive and shouldn't be aborted.
God gives life, and any suggestion of this mass of metal and wires can possibly have an eternal soul is an affront to God.
He must have been waiting for this moment his whole life, because that's one dramatic speech.
Timms won his case, and it was decided Bertha was to have her power shut off.
I think it was worse for Ted. He'd been Bertha's operator since she'd been at the factory, and now he was required to shut her down.
I wish I could tell you Bertha's passing was quiet, dignified and without suffering, but I'm afraid I can't do that.
To be fair, Bertha was just living in a warehouse alone, so this was just mercy killing by now.
It wasn't long, however. I noticed signs of break-ins around the building.
Kids were going in for a look, smash things up, see what they could nick.
They were stealing parts to sell. The day I saw one of Bertha's eyes on eBay, I was physically sick.
Only for £134 too.
Then the army moved in, sealing off the place.
Gee, that was casual. Oh yeah, the army came in, no big deal.
Then I started getting the images on my PC at home. What seemed like meaningless noise was deciphered as Bertha's dreams. A chill went down my spine when I was shown them.
It seems Bertha had used the factory network to access the phone system and was again sending subconscious images to her operator.
Okay, props given, that's honestly terrifying.
Everything was locked up and sealed off. Then people started reporting flickering lights from inside the factory.
I'd probably just move at this point. The factory's a freaking madhouse.
After I saw more of Bertha's dreams, I realized I had to come back.
This would make for a cool horror game.
After the lights and the images, Ted felt he had to go back inside. I told him I didn't think he'd like what he'd find in there.
I didn't recommend Ted to go back to the factory. What was left of her would not be the Bertha he remembered.
They don't understand. One of Bertha's nightmares would have made.
You know, why did he film the parts of his documentary in an abandoned factory? And how was he able to film the documentary before the ending happened?
Back in the 80s, we could always depend upon Bertha. Sadly, Bertha couldn't depend upon us.
How does he not see that Bertha is literally right behind him? How hard is it to find a giant ass machine? Yeah, just keep staring at that wall, pal. Don't know who is still powering Bertha and why she didn't do that before, but whatever. Was that a Cloverfield reference? Poor Pat can't catch a break.
Ah, Pat, you ginger twat.
So that was Bertha, the true story. It's obviously not as good or ambitious as Shed 17 or Project G1, but it's still very good. It was short but able to create a creepy atmosphere. While a few things don't make sense, like how Ted dies but is still able to be interviewed, but overall as a whole it's still very good and really does feel like the foundations of Shed 17. Oh god, Joe was probably throwing piss-filled water balloons at trick-or-treaters. I gotta go stop him.